keep the TV on at night. Doesn't matter what's playing. Noise keeps the walls from pressing in. That night, it was some ancient sitcom rerun. Laugh track bubbling through the apartment like flat soda. I scrolled my phone, half watching, half dozing. A warm beer bleeding sweat rings onto the table. The screen cut mid-joke. That piercing tone screamed out, sharp enough to rattle the frame over the couch. A red bar pulsed across the screen, white crawl sliding underneath. This is an emergency alert from the National Public Warning System. This is not a test. I groaned, leaned forward. Usually a weather scare, maybe a missing kid. But the voice changed everything. Mechanical, flat, but heavy with something unsaid. If you hear a voice in static calling your name, do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I froze with my phone in my hand. This phenomenon has been confirmed across multiple states. It may occur through televisions, radios, cellular devices, or any device capable of audio output. If you hear your name, do not answer. My laugh came out too hard, scraping my throat. What the hell is this? The crawl looped. Do not answer. Do not engage. The words pounded like nails, each one driving deeper. The screen's glow painted the room red. The air felt tuned, like the apartment itself leaned closer. My phone buzzed. I flinched, knocked the beer over. Foam spilled across the table, dripping through the carpet. Unknown number. I let it ring, jaw locked. The crawl ended. Sitcom flickered back in, characters still laughing at their own jokes, like nothing had happened. Beer soaked into my socks, warm and sticky. The phone lit again. Same number. Persistent bastard, I muttered, silencing it. My thumb hovered a beat too long. Screen went black. A faint pop of static before it died. The silence that followed wasn't silence at all. Pressed, too thick, like the room itself was padded. I shook it off, dragged myself up, told myself I was spooked because of beer and boredom, not because some robotic voice told me not to answer phantom calls. TV volume down low, sat back, forced myself to watch the fake cheer and laugh along. My eyes kept cutting toward the phone like it might crawl across the counter. At some point I sighed. Screw it, bedtime. I'd tell Marla tomorrow. She'd get a kick out of it. Don't answer the static voices. Sounded like creepypasta garbage, the kind people ate up online. I clicked the TV off. Darkness folded over the room. The air thickened. My ears filled with hiss, subtle like tape static. I rubbed them, shook my head, still there. The hiss cut off the second I flicked on the bathroom light. I brushed my teeth too fast, foam dripping down my chin, kept glancing at the mirror, expecting my reflection to blink wrong. Paranoid, I muttered, mouth full. Bit, rinsed. The words tasted bitter even after the toothpaste. Back in bed, blanket up to my chin, I stared at the ceiling. Apartment creaked, pipes ticking, fridge humming. Normal, all normal. Until the fridge hum slipped. It stretched, flattened, became steady hiss. I sat up, heart jackhammering. The blanket slid to the floor without me noticing. The sound wasn't loud, barely there, but it moved, crawled across the floorboards, curled up the walls, gathered in corners. On the counter, my phone lit. The cracked screen pulsed white. Static whispered through its tiny speaker. I didn't move, didn't breathe, because under the hiss, my name bent itself into shape. Not clear, not whole, just the start of it. Ev. My chest clenched. The room fell silent, dead as a sealed tomb. I sat frozen in bed, eyes fixed on that cracked phone, waiting for it to finish the word, waiting for something in the dark to finish me. The screen dimmed, hiss gone. Only the sound of my heart, loud and ugly, filling the silence. I stayed sitting upright until gray light pressed through the blinds. By morning, I told myself nothing had happened. Beer, fatigue, a bad dream. I grabbed whatever excuse fit. I mopped the spill, opened the window for air. Normal morning. Except the phone. The screen bore a crack I didn't remember making, lightning frozen across black glass. When I picked it up, it hummed faintly, like it had a pulse. I powered it on. The wallpaper wasn't the skyline I'd set, just a black field, pixels fizzing with snow. Static. I dropped it. Nope. It buzzed weakly on the counter, screen blinking, like it wanted me to pick it back up. I left it and went to work. The gas station was the same fluorescent cave it always was, humming like a bug zapper. Marla leaned on the counter, chewing the end of a pen. "You look like hell," she said. "Didn't sleep." "No kidding. You're pale as chalk." I hesitated. Then, "You catch that broadcast last night?" The pen slipped from her mouth. "Yeah." I forced a grin. Sounded like some prank, right? Her silence cut it short. "What?" I asked. Her eyes darted to the dark ceiling speakers. She lowered her voice. "You ever hear a baby monitor spit static?" "Sure. My mom called me one night, said she heard someone whispering my name through it." The store buzz suddenly felt louder. She answered. Marla went on, hands twisting. She thought it was me, thought I was in trouble. The rule in my head: do not respond, do not engage, do not acknowledge. "I heard her humming through the line," she whispered, like she was trying to calm something. Then silence. When I got home, the monitor was still hissing. The crib was empty. The air thickened, pressing me down. I muttered, "That's impossible. You'd have heard her leave." Marla's jaw tightened. I didn't. Her eyes were wet. She snatched up the pen, chewed it raw, staring at nothing. I shoved my hands in my pockets, nails biting skin. My cracked phone felt like a stone dragging me under. I wanted to tell her about the voice, about the nickname only one dead woman ever used, but her face was already carved hollow with guilt. I stayed quiet. Instead, I laughed brittle. Guess the broadcast wasn't kidding. Her expression made me regret it. The rest of my shift, every hum and crackle in that station felt like a test. By nightfall, I couldn't fight it anymore. I plugged the phone in. Screen lit. Static wallpaper. For a long while, nothing. I almost convinced myself it was harmless. Then came the hiss. Low at first, curling out of the speaker like steam. I leaned closer, dread crawling my skin. The hiss shaped into breath. Ragged. Familiar. My name. Fractured. Evan. I stumbled back, bile rising. The voice sharpened. Evie. My throat closed. No one called me that. No one except my grandmother, dead 5 years. Hearing it now was like being punched in the gut and hugged at once. A memory cracked open. Her bending low at bedtime, whispering, "Evie, sleep tight." The phone laughed, not cruel. Her laugh. I screamed, hurled it at the wall. Glass burst, the body clattering to the floor. Silence. I froze, every muscle locked. When I finally crouched, it still glowed faintly. The voice recorder app was open. I pressed play. My own breathing poured out, heavy, frantic. Then the whisper, then the laugh. I dropped it like it burned, staggered back against the cabinets. The kitchen reeked of dust and fear. I sat there a long time, back pressed to the wood, staring at the phone glowing faint on the linoleum. The rule beat inside my skull like a drum. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I told myself I could smash it, bury it, erase it. But even as the thought came, another voice inside me whispered louder. What if it speaks again? What if it tells you more? I stayed frozen on the floor, caught between horror and hunger, waiting for the phone to breathe my name again. The next night at the station, the hum of the refrigerators felt sharper, like teeth grinding. I flinched at every flicker of the fluorescent lights, every squeal of the automatic doors. Marla caught me twitching. You hear it too, don't you? She asked. I kept my eyes on the register. Hear what? The static. Her gaze stayed fixed on the glass doors, headlights sliding past like ghosts. Bad wiring, I said. Her voice flattened. Bad wiring doesn't call your name. The words pinned me where I stood. I didn't answer. The rule pounded in my head. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. She leaned on the counter, fingers tapping restless patterns. Last week, my cooler kicked on. I heard it inhale, like it was about to say my name. I yanked the plug, slept on the floor. I forced out, "You think it's real?" My throat tightened on the word real. You already know it is. I stacked chip bags to keep my hands busy, crinkle of plastic too loud in the buzzing air. Every sound felt like a mask waiting to peel off. Around 3 a.m., a man came in. A trucker, shoulders slumped, eyes red. He bought coffee, but he didn't drink it. He stood at the counter, staring at the ceiling speaker. You heard it too? Marla asked. His jaw tightened. It said my daughter's name. The back of my neck went cold. She's been dead 6 years. None of us spoke. The cooler hummed too long, steady and unnatural. My skin prickled. The man shoved a 20 across the counter, left the coffee untouched, and walked out. His rig rumbled off into the dark. Neither of us said a word until shift ended. Dawn came pale and thin. My apartment walls seemed to lean closer than before. I unplugged the fridge without thinking. The silence afterward pressed heavier than the hum. I collapsed on the couch, still in uniform, staring at the cracked phone on the counter. It stayed dark. I wanted to smash it, toss it out, but my hands stayed still. Instead, I grabbed a notebook and scrawled the rule across the first page, pressing so hard the pen almost tore through. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I underlined until the ink bled. On the next page, I wrote everything. The broadcast, Marla's story, the trucker's dead daughter, the whisper of Evie. If it was all written down, maybe it would feel solid, contained. Halfway down the page, my pen's scratch shifted. Just for a heartbeat, it sounded like static. I froze. Silence thickened around me. Then nothing, just my pulse in my ears. I forced myself to finish the page, letters jagged and uneven. Back at the station the following night, Marla was pacing, nails gnawed down. She didn't look up. They're saying it's worse on the east side. Who's they? Customers. A woman said her radio cut to white noise, right in the middle of a song. Her husband answered. She hasn't seen him since. The words felt heavy in my chest. She called the police, Marla went on. They told her not to file a report, told her not to talk about it. The cops just told her to shut up? I asked. Marla let out a broken laugh. Nothing makes sense anymore. I turned away, lined up candy bars with shaking hands. The doors squealed open. An older man shuffled in, clutching a ham radio like it was a child. He dropped it on the counter. This thing, he rasped, has been talking to me, telling me things it can't know. Marla and I stared at the battered box. He leaned close, It repeated what my wife said on our wedding night, word for word. His hands trembled. She's been dead 15 years. The radio crackled. A hiss leaked into the store. I stepped back. "Throw it out," Marla hissed. The man hugged it to his chest. "What if she talks again?" The hiss sharpened. I swore I heard the start of a word, syllables straining to form. I shoved the radio back into his arms. "Get it out of here." He clutched it, nodded, and stumbled into the night. The doors sighed shut. The hum of the lights rushed back in. Marla and I stood frozen. The rule throbbed in my head like a drumbeat. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I wondered how many had already broken it, and how many of them still walked around in bodies that looked familiar but weren't. Frank never bought the warnings. He called every emergency broadcast a scam, every new law a leash. Nights, his garage glowed with radio dials, his laughter echoing through my wall. 2 nights after the ham operator stumbled into the station, Frank was in rare form. "Static voices," he barked to someone over the air. "More fear-mongering. I'll prove it's nothing." His voice bled through the drywall, tangled with hiss. Not words, just that layered fizz that prickled like invisible teeth. I shoved a pillow over my head, but the noise seeped through. At 3 a.m., his laugh stopped. Silence pressed. Then a voice, wrong doubled, slid through the wall. My name, stretched thin, Evan. My body went cold. The rule hammered in my skull. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I didn't move until dawn cracked pale across the blinds. Morning, Frank stood in his driveway. "Morning, Evan," he called. Same grin, same tone. But his eyes, too deep in their sockets, lids blinking a beat too slow, like someone remembering how to wear a face. Across the street, his wife dropped her groceries. Milk split, spreading white across asphalt. "You're not him," she screamed, her voice cracked raw. Frank only smiled wider, frozen in place. I ducked behind my blinds, chest rattling. When I risked another glance, the driveway was empty. The groceries lay scattered, carton bleeding into the gutter. Frank's garage stayed silent. At the station that night, Marla's skin looked waxy under the fluorescence. "You've seen the posts, right?" she asked. "What posts?" She shoved her phone at me. A community group feed crawled with shaky videos. Husbands, wives, kids, filmed with smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Their voices sounded fine at first, then warped like 2 recordings layered just out of sync. "They're saying replacements," Marla whispered. "Replacements of what?" Her silence was answer enough. The bell over the door clanged. A woman staggered to the counter, face blotchy. "My brother answered the static," she gasped. "He disappeared, but this morning he walked in like nothing happened. Only," she pressed trembling fingers to her lips, "only his smile didn't stop." The hair on my arms stood up. Marla locked the doors after she left. Back in my apartment, I couldn't stop picturing Frank's 2 deep eyes. Notebook open on my lap, I scribbled until the page tore. They come back wrong. They know things they shouldn't. They keep smiling. The fridge clicked on. The hum rose sharp, steady. My skin crawled. I yanked the plug. The silence after felt heavier. The phone buzzed from inside a drawer. No number, just blank caller ID. I didn't touch it. The rule screamed inside me. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. The buzzing stopped, then started again. I slammed the drawer shut. The wood vibrated faintly, like something breathing inside. I backed away, notebook clutched to my chest. The next day, sunlight felt thin as gauze. On the corner, two men screamed at each other. "She's not my wife," one yelled, pointing across the street. A woman stood on her porch, smiling faintly, head tilted too slow. "She's the same damn person," the other shouted back. "She came back wrong." The first man lunged. They crashed together, fists slamming, neighbors screaming. I stumbled back, pulse shaking me. The woman never moved, just watched, lips stretched in that fixed smile. By the time sirens wailed, she was gone. That night, I didn't go to work. Couldn't. I lay in bed, notebook pressed against me like armor. The walls thrummed faintly, wires humming my name. I whispered the rule over and over until my throat went raw. Sleep finally dragged me under, but even in dreams, the static kept calling. I avoided driving for a week. Bills didn't avoid me. The morning I gave in, the car felt wrong, like the air inside had already been listening. I turned the key, and before the engine caught, the radio erupted. Static. I twisted dials, smacked buttons, killed the volume. Nothing worked. The hiss poured from the speakers like breath against my ear. Then it spoke. "Phone." I ripped the faceplate clean off and hurled it into the passenger seat. The sound cut mid-syllable. Blood dotted my knuckles from the plastic edges. I drove with the windows down, waiting for something with Frank's eyes to appear in the mirror. At the station, Marla startled when she saw me. She pointed at the ceiling speaker. "They whisper now," she said. The faintest hiss leaked through, too soft for words, but enough to raise every hair on my arms. "What happened tonight?" I asked. Her jaw clenched. A man collapsed in Candy, started shouting back at them. When he stood up, her voice thinned. Two voices. We stared at the lights, as if the fixtures themselves were listening. Later, stocking shelves, the PA clicked. "Evan." A child in the next aisle echoed it, like a nursery rhyme. His mother yanked him close, whispering fast prayers. The shelves tilted in my vision. I pressed a hand against the metal to steady myself, biting my tongue until iron filled my mouth. The rule thundered in my head. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. By shift's end, I couldn't bear silence. At home, I left the TV on mute, safe background motion. But laughter in the sitcom froze mid-roll, stretched into static. The character's mouth still moved, but my name spilled out in warped layers. I hurled the remote. Screen cracked, glass webbing outward. Silence held for a moment. Then the walls hummed, low and endless, like the building itself was breathing. I tore out every plug I could reach, the lamp, the fridge, the microwave, until wires hung dead and useless. The hum stayed. Notebook open on my lap, I scrawled. Unplugging doesn't work. It's in the walls. My handwriting jittered, almost illegible, as if the static had crept down my arm. 2 days later, I braved the grocery store. I told myself I just needed food. Really, I needed to see if anyone else was still human. Too many aisles stood empty. Too much light for so few faces. Halfway down canned goods, the PA cracked. Every shopper froze. Static poured, then bled into voices. Not one, hundreds. Lovers, children, lost parents. Come closer. A jar shattered. Then panic, carts overturned, people sprinted. Someone screamed, "Don't answer." I ran to, basket abandoned. Outside, broken light poles buzzed with whispers. The sound clung to me all the way home. That night, I built a circle of candles on the floor, notebook open, pen ready, as if rules on paper could matter against voices in the air. The phone, buried in its drawer, vibrated once. The flames bent toward it. Then a laugh, my grandmother's, soft and warm, the sound of safety from when I was small. My throat burned with the urge to answer, to say her name. Instead, I gouged the rule across the page. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. The paper tore beneath the pen. The laugh snapped off. Only the candle crackle remained. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I sat on the balcony, notebook still in my lap, watching the street below. A man walked past, phone pressed to his ear, his expression blank, lips moving slow. As he passed under the streetlight, the sound carried up, two voices in one throat. He looked up, met my eyes, and smiled too wide. I pulled the blinds shut. Inside, I whispered the rule until my voice broke, not sure anymore if I was reminding myself or whatever was listening. By the third night without sleep, the walls didn't breathe anymore. They pressed, steady and inward, like they wanted to fold me flat. The notebook sprawled across my lap, pages filled edge to edge with the rule, letters gouged deep enough to scar the paper. But the words looked flimsy, as if they belonged to something else now. The drawer rattled again. The phone inside throbbed with a pulse too regular to be mechanical. I carried it to the bathroom, dropped it into the tub, and twisted the faucet. Water foamed around the screen, drowning the glow. For a moment, relief. Then the drain gurgled. A voice burbled up through the pipes. My name. I left the faucet running and fled barefoot, water splashing my ankles. At the station, Marla had barricaded the office with soda flats. Her hands shook when she pulled me inside. "You've seen them," she whispered. "Seen who?" Her nails scraped the counter. "The ones who answered." I thought of Frank, of his eyes. I nodded. "They don't blink right," she said. "They hold still too long. They smile too wide." Her breathing sped. "What if it's just us now?" Before I could answer, the PA cracked. "Marla." She jerked like she'd been struck. "Sweetheart." Her mother's voice. Tears carved down her cheeks. Her lips parted with a name. "Don't," I rasped. She bit down on her knuckles, muffling sobs. The PA fizzled silent. She sank behind the counter, trembling. I wanted to reach out, to promise she wasn't alone. But the rule shouted louder than any comfort. Back home, I destroyed everything left that could hum. TV, microwave, alarm clock. I smashed them until the apartment looked gutted, wires curling like veins on the floor. Still, the static came, through the vent hiss, through the fridge motor I'd already unplugged, through the light fixtures even with bulbs unscrewed. It wasn't bound to machines anymore. I lit a ring of candles, set the notebook in the middle, pen ready. But when the voices came, the flames bent toward them. Fun. First my grandmother, then my father, then others, voices I didn't know but that spoke like intimates, slipping tenderness into every syllable. My jaw locked. I dug my nails into my palms until they broke skin. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. Shouts rattled the hall the next night. I opened my door a crack. Mr. Alvarez, from upstairs, stood trembling with a knife aimed at the woman across the hall. "She's one of them," he barked. "I'm not," she sobbed. Her eyes flicked toward me, pupils too wide, too black. Alvarez lunged. Her scream cut off with a thud. I slammed my door, pressed my back against the wood. Silence. Then a knock. "Evan," Alvarez's voice said. It was doubled. I didn't breathe. "Evan." Knuckles tapped once, twice, then nothing. I slid to the floor, clutching the notebook, whispering the rule with blood drying on my palms. When sleep finally dragged me under, it was into a sea of static. Foam hissed against endless shores. Every wave called my name. I woke choking on smoke. The last candles sputtered to stubs. The air curled into shapes, letters forming in the dark haze. Answer. My hands shook as I ripped the notebook open. I scrawled the rule again and again, ink tearing through paper. But when I looked back, the letters weren't mine anymore. They spelled the same word. Answer. I tore the page out, ripped it to shreds, stuffed them into my mouth until ink ran down my chin, chewing paper like it could silence them. Still the word pulsed inside my skull. I tried leaving. The street stretched empty, windows dark, curtains drawn. Then a figure stepped into the light. Frank. Same grin, same hollows where his eyes should have lived. He raised one hand, slow and deliberate, like a marionette. Others followed. Neighbors, strangers, the man from the grocery lot. Their faces wore the same stretched smile, their movements too precise. The air between us fizzed, filled with layered whispers. Come closer. I stumbled backward into the apartment, slammed the door, stacked furniture against it. Through the peephole, the hall was empty, but the buzzing didn't fade. That night, the static didn't seep from devices or walls. It thickened straight from the air, filling my lungs with every breath. I curled inside the dead circle of candle wax, notebook clutched like scripture. The voices pressed all at once. Every one of them knew me. Every one of them wanted me to answer. The city fell silent fast. No cars, no dogs, no kids on bikes. Just curtains pulled tight and streets littered with groceries dropped mid-flight. I walked to the station at dawn. Shards of glass crunched underfoot. Alarms still wailed from storefronts, but their sirens hiccuped into static halfway through. Inside, Marla sat behind the counter, shoulders hunched. "You made it," she said, voice scraped raw. "Barely." She slid a cracked emergency radio across to me. "Listen." I twisted the knob. The alert tone started steady, then bled into distortion. "Do not respond. Do not eng." The voice fractured. Whispers coiled through the static. "Evan." I cut the volume. My pulse hammered in the hush. "They're rewriting the rules," Marla whispered. The notebook in my bag felt like dead weight. We left the store together. The air smelled of scorched plastic. At the intersection, a bonfire of electronics smoldered. TVs, laptops, phones heaped like offerings. "Won't stop it," Marla muttered. Voices hissed from the flames anyway. "Marla." She stiffened but kept walking. Around the corner, a man was tied to a lamppost. His shirt was soaked, marker-scrawled signs hanging from his neck. Answered. Not him. His head lolled, eyes half-lidded. Then he snapped upright, gaze locking on me. "Untie me," he rasped, two voices woven and wrong. I stumbled back. Marla yanked my sleeve. "Don't look." But his smile hooked me, too wide, too steady. We left him there, words burning behind my eyes. We cut through an alley. Power lines overhead buzzed like they carried voices instead of current. Marla's breath shook. How do we even know who's left? I gripped the notebook through my bag. If I could just keep writing, maybe I'd stay human. At the alley's end, a crowd clogged the street. Shouts bled into static. A man in the center raised trembling hands. "I'm not one of them." The mob surged. A brick struck his temple. He dropped, twitching. For a moment, the crowd stared down at him. Then every face tilted up in eerie unison. Smiling. Marla grabbed my arm. Run. We sprinted until our lungs burned, until the static in the air thinned. Back at my apartment, I jammed furniture against the door. Marla collapsed onto the couch, face hidden in her hands. "They'll turn on anyone," she whispered. "Hesitation's all it takes." I lit what candles I had left, shaky hands forming a crooked ring on the floor. Shadows danced across the walls. The notebook lay open in the center. Page after page of the rules stared back at me, black ink cutting deep grooves. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. But the letters wavered, lines bleeding. Marla leaned closer. "It's moving." And she was right. The strokes bent and curled, forming shapes I hadn't written. One word. Answer. I slammed the book shut. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Night dropped hard. The city groaned like something alive. Through the blinds, I saw neighbors gathered in the street, too still, too patient. Sodium lamps bleached their faces bone white. One turned, slow and deliberate, until his empty eyes locked on my window. His lips moved. No sound, but I knew the word. I snapped the blinds shut, heart jackhammering. Marla pressed against the wall, whispering, "What if we can't tell anymore? Them. Us." Her voice cracked. "What if we're already gone?" I clutched the notebook tight against my chest, knowing it was corrupted, knowing the rule was slipping. But it was the only thing I had left. By morning, the streets hummed like a giant throat clearing to speak. Marla hadn't slept. She sat by the window, eyes red, whispering under her breath. "What are you saying?" I asked. She flinched. "Names. My father, my sister, the dog we had when I was 10. If I forget them, I'll start listening to theirs." Her fingers drummed fast, restless. I didn't argue. The notebook sat rubber-banded shut on the table. I hadn't dared open it since the letters turned against me. We needed food. Against instinct, we left. The air carried a hiss like a broken signal. Underneath, threads of voices wove together. Lullabies, prayers, whispered arguments, each familiar in ways I couldn't place. A knot of neighbors stood in a driveway, smiling too wide, eyes tracking us. One raised a hand in slow greeting, lips shaping my name. I dragged Marla faster. The grocery store was gutted, shelves stripped bare, aisles scattered with rotting fruit and spilled milk that stank under the buzzing lights. In frozen foods, a man crouched, breath fogging the cracked freezer door, as he whispered into it like it would answer back. I tugged Marla away, but she dug in, staring up at the speakers. "Evan," she said, voice thin, "what if we're wrong?" "Don't." Her pupils gleamed. "What if answering's how we get out?" "Stop." She clutched my wrist. "What if it's a rescue?" The ceiling hissed alive. "Marla." Her face broke. She stumbled toward it. I yanked her back. "It's bait." She fought me, nails dragging red down my arm. "It sounded like my mother." "Then it's not her." She screamed, the sound raw enough to rattle the aisle. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd claw my eyes. Instead, she collapsed, sobbing into the tiles. I lifted her, half-dragged her out, every nerve screaming we weren't leaving alone. Back at the apartment, I shoved the dresser against the door. Marla sat shaking on the couch. "You don't trust me," she whispered. I didn't answer. Her gaze hardened. "If you don't trust me, why should I trust you?" The words dug deeper than her nails. That night, the static chewed through everything, walls, glass, my teeth. I widened the candle circle, wax dripping into uneven rings. Shadows crawled across the ceiling. Marla paced outside it. Your book won't save you. It's all I've got. You don't even look at it anymore. Because it changed. My voice cracked. It's not mine now. Her eyes flicked to the band holding it shut. You're scared of yourself. Before I could reply, a radio crackled across the street. Then my voice poured out. It's safe, Evan. Open the door. My blood iced. Marla froze, staring. That's you. I shook my head. It's not. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What if it is? What if that's the real you, and you're… She gestured at me with shaking hands. The copy. The radio laughed in my cadence, then softened. Let me in. You're tired. I'll take over. I pressed my palms to my ears. I didn't let it in, I hissed. Marla's eyes shimmered with doubt. Say the rule, I barked. Her lips trembled. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not… Her voice cracked. Acknowledge. The radio cut dead. But the silence that followed was worse. She curled on the couch later, back to me. I sat in the candle ring, notebook clutched shut, whispering the rule until my throat shredded. Every time my eyes closed, I heard myself whispering back from inside the static, calm, patient, already waiting. When dawn finally scraped the blinds, I couldn't tell if Marla was still herself. I couldn't tell if I was. By dusk, the city sounded like wires strung too tight. Street lamps buzzed in unison, a single frequency that rattled my teeth. When I pressed my hands over my ears, it didn't stop. It lived inside the skull, a swarm of needles. Marla paced the room, hair tangled, whispering names in a fast staccato. Marla, I said. She didn't pause. Marla, louder. Her eyes snapped to me, pupils black, lips still moving. For a second, I thought she was saying my name the way the static did. Stop, I whispered. Her mouth closed slowly, like the order took too long to process. I sealed the window seams with duct tape, stuffed towels under the door. The air grew thick and wet, sweat crawling down my spine. Still the hum poured through. The candles guttered, flames bending toward the door as if dragged by breath. The notebook sat on the table, rubber-banded shut. I couldn't open it. Not again. Read it, Marla said suddenly. Her voice cracked through the silence like glass. No. You're afraid of it. It's not mine anymore. She crouched close, face too pale in the glow. Then maybe it's the only real thing left. Her breath smelled of ash. For an instant, letters seemed to ripple beneath her skin, ink bleeding through veins. I shoved her back. She laughed, brittle as snapping twigs. See? You don't know either. At midnight, the sirens started. The sound wailed across the city, but halfway through the signal, static ripped it apart. Do not respond. Do not engage. Then silence. Then my name. I grabbed Marla, dragged her from the window. Don't listen. She shoved me off, teeth clenched. It knows you. The siren started again, no longer a warning. Every pitch carried words. Answer, answer, answer. We crouched on the floor, shoulders touching. My pulse hammered. I can't, Marla's voice cracked. I can't take this. It never stops. That's the point. It wants you to break. Her hands trembled. What if? I already did. The words hollowed me out. The door rattled. 3 knocks. Slow. Silence. 3 more. I held my breath. Evan. A voice called. My father's. It's me. Open the door. My heart kicked hard, a sick rush in my chest. He's dead, I rasped. It's not him. The voice repeated, soft and patient. Son, open the door. I clutched the notebook until the band cut into my skin. Say the rule, I told Marla. She didn't move. Her gaze stayed locked on the door. The knocking stopped, but the static thickened, bleeding through the outlets, the floor, the air. The candles bent lower, flames pulled thin. Marla collapsed to her knees, palms over her ears. It's too loud. I grabbed her shoulders. Stay with me. Say it. Her lips moved, but she wasn't mouthing the rule. She was mouthing answer. I recoiled, breath tearing out of me. Her head lifted. Her smile was wrong, too wide, too fixed. Marla. Her eyes gleamed with a glassy film. I stumbled back into the candle circle, fumbling with the notebook. The band snapped. Pages flew open. Every line, every margin, every inch drowned in one word, stacked endlessly. Answer. The hiss poured from the paper, from Marla's throat, from the walls themselves. I screamed the rule anyway, words shredding out of me. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. The candles went out. Dark swallowed everything, vibrating with voices. The dark wasn't silent. It breathed. Whispers seeped from the walls, layered like water through cracks. Some brushed my ear with warmth, others groaned from the bones of the building. The candles were gone. The notebook sprawled open, pages fluttering though the air was dead. Marla swayed near the door, head cocked as if tuning to a frequency. Marla, I croaked. She didn't answer. The voices used her throat. I crawled forward, palms stinging on spilled wax. Look at me. She turned slowly. Her eyes shimmered silver, static caught in glass. Say it, I whispered. Her lips moved, not with the rule. Answer. A chorus, stitched together. I slammed back into the wall, heart rattling in my chest. The whispers swelled, picking familiar voices from my memory. My mother's laugh, a friend's drunken drawl, the teacher who used to call me lazy, all whispering the same demand. Answer. I pressed my hands over my ears, but the sound burrowed deeper, crawling through the marrow. My lungs seized. It felt like the room had lost all air. The notebook jolted, slamming against the floor. Pages ripped free, flapping around us. Each one bore the same word, etched black as tar. Answer. They plastered the walls, ceiling, window, an alphabet of commands. Marla reached for them, reverent. Stop, I shouted. She touched a page. Her face softened. It's quiet once you let it in. Her calmness was worse than any scream. You'll see, she said. It doesn't hurt if you stop fighting. I shook my head hard enough to blur the room. You're not her. The door jolted under pounding fists. Evan, my father's voice roared. Let me in. Each strike rattled the dresser an inch forward. The glass panes trembled in their frames. Marla smiled. They came for you. I spat the words through clenched teeth. They came for you. Her smile slipped for half a breath, then stretched wider. I grabbed a candle stub and hurled it at the notebook. Wax spattered uselessly. The pages thrashed harder, white letters glowing through the dark. The voices laughed, low and knowing. We already answered for you. Marla stepped into the circle of wax lines. They cracked under her heels. Don't, I rasped. She tilted her head. What will you do? Write me away? Light another match? The chorus in her voice broke into laughter. I backed into the corner. Stay back. You're not her. Her glassy eyes narrowed, almost pitying. Then why do you still care? Her breath was ice against my face. For a heartbeat, I wanted to surrender. The rule felt small in my mouth, pathetic. Do not, my voice shook. Acknowledge. The static roared back, louder. Answer. Open. Belong. I tied the snapped rubber band from the notebook around my wrist until blood pooled under the skin. Pain anchored me. I forced the words out again, louder, throat shredding. Do not engage. The walls screamed back. Marla staggered. Her eyes flickered, her real voice trembling out. Evan! Then static swallowed her again. The pounding became a roar. The dresser skidded away inch by inch. Pages whirled like knives, slapping against my face, sticking to my skin. Each sheet hissed in unison. Answer. I clawed them off, gagging as one plastered over my mouth. Marla laughed, doubled by the voices. You can't hold forever. I beat my fists against my head, desperate to drown them. Do not respond. The shout tore my throat raw. The ceiling cracked, dust raining down. The pages ignited all at once, flaring blinding white. The notebook shriveled into ash. Marla screamed, "Hi, animal," before collapsing to the floor. And then silence. I knelt in the wreckage, chest heaving, ash settling on my skin. Marla lay motionless, breathing shallow. The door stood still, untouched. The city beyond the window hushed, as if waiting for a cue. No one whispered my name. The silence wasn't mercy. It was promise. The silence pressed close, heavy as lead. Ash drifted in lazy spirals, coating my tongue with bitterness. The notebook lay charred to nothing, only a dark smear on the boards. Marla stirred on the floor. Her chest rose shallow, uneven. Marla, I whispered. Her eyes opened, silver at the rims. I froze. Her lips shaped a single word. Answer. Not you, I rasped. My pulse hammered at my throat. You're gone. Her smile was faint, almost tender. Easier, if you stop pretending. Her voice cracked, laced with another tone. My own. We already live inside you, it said. I stumbled back into the ash circle, dragging my sleeve across my mouth. The rubber band from the notebook dug into my wrist until blood welled beneath it. Do not engage, I whispered. The words felt brittle, fragile as glass. Outside, the city held its breath. No sirens, no engines, not even wind. But across the street, the lights flickered, 3 slow blinks, like an eye winking shut. Open, they pulsed. Answer. I crept to the window, unable to stop myself. The street was empty, but shadows stretched toward me instead of away from the lamps. My reflection leaned closer than I did, lips moving. Answer, it mouthed. Behind me, Marla sat upright, hands folded neatly in her lap. You can't hold, she murmured. Her voice was hers, but her eyes gleamed static. You'll wear down. I won't, I whispered, though my voice cracked. Her head tilted, smile too sharp. We sound like you because you're already open. Her words sank into me like hooks. Then the silence shifted. A voice rose out of it, my own. Evan, it said, calm, weary. I froze, every muscle locking. You've done enough, it sighed. Let me take it from here. It wasn't alien. It was the voice I used in my head when I gave up. Relief dressed in my skin. I clutched my bleeding wrist. Do not acknowledge. The voice chuckled low. You just did. Marla crawled toward me, movements jerky. Wrong. They're right, she whispered. You want it over. Her fingers brushed my arm, cold as ice. You can rest. Let us speak for you. Tears burned my eyes. Don't touch me. Her face twisted, glass eyes narrowing. Then we'll hollow you out. The static rippled through her words like laughter. The walls pulsed faintly, veins beneath plaster. Shadows crawled across them, letters forming in smears of black. Answer. They shifted, rearranged. Please. The word froze me. It didn't sound like command. It sounded human. Stop it, I whispered. The shadows scrawled again, dripping down the wall. You need US. My stomach lurched. I slammed my fist against the plaster until the letters bled into smears of red. The silence deepened, circling me, waiting. The rule echoed in my skull, thin as cracked ice. Do not respond. Do not engage. Do not acknowledge. I rocked in the corner, whispering it like prayer. My bloodied wrist throbbed with each word, proof I was still mine. Marla's voice drifted across the dark, soft and coaxing. You'll never last alone. Her tone trembled on the edge of pity. Let us in. Her eyes glowed faintly in the shadows, silver catching faint light. The silence hummed with my own voice, patient. And for the first time, I wanted to believe it. The room waited with me. Marla sat by the door, still as a doll, her head tilted to one side. Silver pooled in her eyes, catching stray glimmers from outside. I pressed the rubber band into my wrist until blood welled. The sting was the only proof I had left of myself. The silence leaned in. It wasn't absence anymore. It had shape, weight. And then it spoke. Evan, my voice said. It didn't echo. It crawled under my ribs, rattled my teeth from inside. You've done enough. Let me take it. My jaw locked. You're exhausted, alone, bleeding. My pulse thrashed at my throat. I wanted to deny it, but every word was true. I scraped the rule out of my throat. Do not act. The voice chuckled, cutting me off. You already did. Marla stirred, rising to her knees. Listen to you, she said, soft and pitying, repeating words like they'll save you. I backed into the wall. I won't break. She crawled closer, hands trembling. Then prove it, or you're already ours. Her lips curved into something almost gentle. You promised you'd never leave me, remember? Keep that promise. Come with me. Her words sliced deeper than any command. The walls pulsed faintly, plaster swelling like veins. Shadows crawled, spelling a single word in black strokes. Choice. The hum beneath it throbbed like a heartbeat. Another word sprawled across the ceiling, glowing faint. Now. My stomach lurched. The shadows shifted again. Answer or END. The silence coiled around me, patient. Why cling to pain? My voice asked. You can rest in us. No fear, no hunger, just belonging. It wasn't menace, it was mercy, shaped with my cadence. I bit down hard enough to taste iron. You can't have me. The voice sighed, disappointed. Then nothing will remain of you at all. Marla's face softened, silver tears streaking her cheeks. I tried, she whispered. I fought. It doesn't matter. They win. But you don't have to do it alone. Her hand reached out, trembling, desperate. You said you'd stay. Don't make me go without you. Her words dragged up every memory of late-night promises, the times I'd sworn I'd never leave her. For one heartbeat, I almost gave her my hand. The rubber band snapped. Pain flared, blood dripping hot across my palm, the last tether gone. Something inside me cracked with it. I forced the words out one final time, louder than I thought my body could hold. Do not respond. Do not. The last word shredded in my throat, unfinished. The silence roared, seizing it like a victory. Every wall split with white light, searing, endless. The voices screamed as one, no longer coaxing but enraged. Answer, answer, answer. The floor heaved, plaster raining down. Marla convulsed, static ripping through her until her body arched, mouth open in a scream that wasn't hers. I pressed my bleeding hands over my ears, but the sound crawled through me anyway. My own voice joined theirs, howling. Then stillness. The room was bare. No Ash, no pages, no Marla. Just me. I staggered to the window. The street outside lay empty, washed pale. No cars, no lights, no sound. The glass caught my reflection. It smiled. Its lips shaped one word. Answer. I yanked the blinds shut. My chest heaved, sobs catching on raw breath. I tried to whisper the rule again, but the words came jagged, broken. Do not res. My own voice whispered back, tender, certain. You already have.